Somewhere in the mountains of China, a small team of engineers set out to do something almost nobody believed was possible: build an adventure motorcycle that could go toe-to-toe with Europe's biggest names, at a fraction of the price, and without cutting the corners everyone expected. Most people laughed it off as impossible. Then this bike showed up, and suddenly nobody was laughing anymore. Today we are tearing into the Kove 800X Pro, the machine that has genuinely shaken up the adventure bike world, and by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why riders who once dismissed Chinese motorcycles are now lining up to buy one. Stay with me, because this story is far more serious than you might expect. Before we go deeper, if you are the kind of rider who loves discovering bikes before everyone else catches on, machines that genuinely surprise you, then you are exactly where you need to be. This is Bikes Review Lab, and every week we dig into motorcycles like this one and give you the honest picture, not the marketing version. If that sounds like your kind of content, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe right now. It genuinely helps this channel keep growing so we can keep making videos like this one. Alright, let's get into what makes this bike such a serious contender. Rally and racing heritage. Now here is where things get genuinely impressive for such a young brand. Kove Moto was founded in Chongqing, China, back in 2017, and in an incredibly short amount of time, they made the bold decision to enter the world's toughest motorsport event, the Dakar Rally. In 2023, Kove entered 3 of their 450 Rally Factory Edition machines into the Dakar, and remarkably, all 3 bikes crossed the finish line, an achievement that genuinely stunned the motorcycling world given how brutal that race is and how young the brand was at the time. American rider Mason Klein, riding for Kove, finished 9th overall in his first Dakar appearance in 2022, and then went on to claim an actual stage win in 2023, becoming the first rider to ever win a Dakar stage on a Chinese-built motorcycle. The story kept building, and by 2025, Kove factory rider Niels the Rick finished 15th overall, the best result ever recorded by a Chinese manufacturer in Dakar history. Now, it is worth being clear here, that racing success came from the smaller 450 Rally competition bike, not the 800X Pro sitting in front of us today, but that same engineering team, the same obsession with lightweight construction and durability under brutal conditions, is exactly what shaped this adventure bike, and once you understand that connection, this machine starts to make a lot more sense. Engine performance and power. At the heart of the 800X Pro sits a 799 cubic centimeters parallel twin engine with double overhead camshafts, producing around 95 horsepower at 9,000 revolutions per minute. Now here is something interesting. This engine's internal architecture bears a strong resemblance to the well-respected 790 and 890 platform used by a certain Austrian manufacturer, and honestly, that is not a bad thing to borrow inspiration from, because the power delivery on this engine feels genuinely refined, punchy in the mid-range, and eager to rev without feeling harsh or unpredictable. Torque delivery and torque curve. Torque output sits at around 80 Nm, arriving at 7,500 revolutions per minute, and the curve builds progressively rather than hitting you with a sudden surge. This matters enormously for adventure riding, because predictable torque delivery means you can trust the throttle on loose gravel or rocky inclines without the rear wheel suddenly breaking traction, and riders consistently praise how manageable this engine feels even when pushed hard off-road. Cylinder configuration and engine design. The parallel twin layout keeps the engine compact and lightweight, contributing directly to this bike's most talked about advantage, its weight. With a 270-degree crank configuration, the engine produces a firing order that mimics the character of a V-twin, giving it a more engaging, textured pulse compared to a typical parallel twin, while the DOHC design allows for higher revving performance and sharper throttle response throughout the rev range. Cooling system and heat management. The liquid cooling system on the 800X Pro has been engineered with radiator positioning designed to minimize heat transfer toward the rider's legs. A genuinely important consideration for a bike marketed heavily toward off-road exploration, where slow technical riding at low speed generates the most heat buildup. Early owner reports suggest heat management is competitive with established rivals, though as with most twin-cylinder adventure bikes, some warmth is noticeable during extended low-speed crawling in hot climates. Engine smoothness and vibration levels. At highway cruising speeds, the engine settles into a smooth, manageable hum, and the counterbalanced internals keep vibration well controlled through the handlebars and foot pegs. There is enough mechanical character to remind you that you are riding something with genuine personality, without it tipping into fatiguing buzziness during long-distance stretches. Fuel efficiency and real-world mileage. In real-world testing, the 800X Pro has returned genuinely impressive fuel efficiency figures, with fuel consumption reported around 4.7 liters per 100 kilometers, translating to roughly 21 kilometers per liter under mixed riding conditions. For a bike producing this much performance, that efficiency is a genuine highlight and makes long-distance touring on a budget entirely realistic. Power-to-weight ratio. This is genuinely where the Kove 800X Pro separates itself from nearly everything else in its class. With a curb weight of approximately 183 to 190 kilograms depending on configuration, this bike is remarkably lighter than most established rivals, some of which weigh 30 to 40 kilograms more. Combined with that 95 horsepower output, the resulting power-to-weight ratio feels genuinely sharp. The bike accelerates, turns, and maneuvers with an eagerness that catches experienced riders off guard the first time they throw a leg over it. Drivetrain chain versus shaft. The 800X Pro uses a conventional chain drive rather than shaft drive. This does mean the usual maintenance responsibilities, cleaning, lubrication, and periodic adjustment, especially after riding through mud or wet conditions, and some early owners have reported needing to replace the stock chain sooner than expected under heavy use. On the upside, chain drive keeps the bike lighter and contributes directly to that impressive power-to-weight ratio we just discussed. Gear shifting and clutch feel. The 6-speed gearbox feels solid and mechanically precise, paired with a slipper clutch that provides smooth, controlled downshifts even under hard braking into corners. Newer model years have introduced an optional up and down quickshifter, a feature that genuinely elevates the riding experience, though earlier model year units shipped without one, something potential buyers of used or earlier models should be aware of. Suspension front and rear. Suspension is genuinely one of the strongest selling points on this bike. The 800X Pro comes equipped with fully adjustable Kayaba suspension components offering up to 240 mm of travel at both ends, figures that rival dedicated hardcore off-road machines costing significantly more. This is not a corner cove cut, this is a genuine, serious suspension setup that soaks up rocks, ruts, and sudden impacts with real composure, and reviewers have consistently praised how planted and controlled the bike feels even during aggressive off-road riding. Braking system deep analysis. Braking hardware on the 800X Pro punches well above its price point, featuring radial calipers and floating brake discs paired with a switchable ABS system that can be disabled specifically for off-road riding, a genuinely important feature because standard road-tuned ABS can actually work against you in loose gravel or sand. The braking feel is confident and progressive, giving riders real control during both aggressive highway stops and technical downhill descents. Body positioning and riding posture. The riding posture is tall and commanding, deliberately designed around standing while riding off-road, with a raised, rearward-positioned handlebar that gives excellent leverage when muscling the bike through technical terrain. On the road, this same upright posture provides excellent visibility and a confident, in-control feeling, though it clearly leans toward off-road ergonomics rather than pure highway comfort. Deep ergonomics. Digging into the ergonomics, seat height sits at approximately 875 mm, which is genuinely tall and can be a real challenge for shorter riders trying to flat-foot the bike at a stop. The seat itself is narrow, allowing easier reach to the ground than the raw number suggests, and later model years have widened the seat slightly for improved comfort. The handlebar reach feels natural for both seated and standing positions, reflecting genuine ergonomic engineering rather than an afterthought. Pillion comfort. For passengers, the pillion accommodation is functional but firm, reflecting this bike's clear off-road first priorities. It works reasonably well for shorter trips, but this is honestly not the machine to choose if two-up long-distance touring comfort is your primary concern. The 800X Pro is clearly built with the solo adventure rider in mind. Weight and weight distribution. We have already touched on the headline weight figure, but distribution matters just as much. Kove mounted the fuel tank low and under the seat rather than in the traditional position above the engine, which lowers the center of gravity significantly and makes the bike feel even lighter and more manageable than its already impressive curb weight suggests, particularly noticeable during slow technical maneuvering or picking the bike up after a tip-over. Turning radius and maneuverability. Thanks to that lighter weight and lowered center of gravity, the 800X Pro turns and maneuvers with genuine agility, both on tight technical trails and in slow-speed situations like parking lots or narrow switchbacks. This is consistently one of the most praised traits among reviewers who have ridden it back-to-back against heavier, more established rivals. Frame material and chassis behavior. Kove built the 800X Pro around a steel perimeter frame, sometimes described as a diamond-shaped dual-wing beam design, chosen for its durability and ability to absorb repeated stress from off-road impacts without fatiguing over time. The chassis communicates clearly through the bars and pegs, giving riders honest feedback about traction, something reviewers have specifically highlighted as surprisingly mature for such a young manufacturer. Ground clearance. Ground clearance sits at an impressive 275 mm, genuinely higher than most established rivals in this segment, allowing the bike to clear large rocks and deep ruts without excessive concern. Reinforcing that this machine was built with genuine off-road ambition rather than just adventure-styled looks. Tire compound and grip. The 800X Pro comes fitted from the factory with Pirelli Scorpion Rally STR tires, a genuinely capable dual-purpose compound that balances on-road stability with real off-road traction straight out of the box, a detail that shows Kove was not cutting corners on components that actually matter for this bike's intended mission. Off-road performance. This is genuinely where the 800X Pro earns serious respect. On gravel, the bike feels stable and confident even at higher speeds, thanks to that low center of gravity and long-travel suspension. On mud, the switchable traction control and predictable torque delivery help maintain control where heavier rivals begin to struggle. On sand, the light overall weight becomes a massive advantage, allowing the front wheel to stay lively rather than digging in and fighting the rider. In genuine desert and rocky terrain, reviewers have repeatedly noted that this bike feels like it belongs in a segment well above its price point, a direct reflection of the brand's Dakar-tested engineering philosophy. Highway performance and touring comfort. On the highway, the 800X Pro performs solidly, cruising comfortably at higher speeds with reasonably controlled vibration, though the non-adjustable windscreen on earlier models has drawn some criticism for allowing noticeable wind buffeting at sustained highway speeds. Newer model years have addressed this with a taller, wider screen, showing Kove is genuinely listening to owner feedback and improving the platform. Aerodynamics and wind protection. Wind protection has improved meaningfully across model years, with the redesigned screen reducing wind noise and rider fatigue during longer highway stretches, though it still trails slightly behind more touring-focused rivals with fully adjustable screens. Fuel tank capacity and range. With a 20-liter fuel tank and that impressive fuel efficiency we discussed earlier, riders can realistically expect a range of around 350 to 400 kilometers per tank, giving genuine confidence for long-distance exploration between fuel stops. Features and electronics. The electronics package is genuinely competitive for this price bracket, including switchable traction control, cornering-capable ABS on newer models, and multiple riding modes, along with Bosch-managed fuel injection ensuring precise, reliable throttle response across all conditions. Riding modes and technology systems. Riders can choose between comfort, rain, sport, and off-road modes, each adjusting throttle response and traction control intervention. Newer model years have added cruise control and additional riding modes, along with an up and down quickshifter, features that genuinely elevate this bike well beyond what you would expect at this price point. Dashboard and meter quality. The instrument cluster features a 7-inch color TFT display, clearly presenting speed, navigation, and ride data with logically placed handlebar controls for easy menu navigation, a detail reviewers have specifically praised as intuitive and uncluttered. Headlight performance and visibility. The full LED headlight setup, featuring an automatic on function on newer models, provides strong, reliable illumination for night riding, with clean, purposeful styling that has grown on reviewers over successive model years. Battery type and charging system. The bike uses a lightweight lithium battery, a deliberate choice that contributes to the overall weight savings we discussed earlier, paired with a charging system capable of supporting the onboard electronics without excessive drain during shorter rides or extended off-road exploration. Build quality and durability. Fit and finish has genuinely impressed reviewers who expected a budget feel and instead found high-quality components throughout, from the aluminum engine guard and side protection bars to the sturdy sump guard, reflecting Kove's genuine investment in component quality rather than cutting corners to hit an aggressive price point. Reliability and long-term ownership. Being such a young platform, long-term reliability data is genuinely limited, and this is an honest point worth raising directly. Early owners have reported some issues, including faster than expected chain wear, though most report the bike performing reliably across thousands of kilometers without major mechanical concerns. Time will tell whether this platform matches the long-term durability reputation of more established rivals. Maintenance cost and parts availability. Here comes another honest point. As a new manufacturer, Kove currently has a limited dealer network in many markets, meaning parts availability and specialized servicing can be genuinely more challenging to find compared to established brands with decades of dealership infrastructure already in place. After-sales service. Kove is actively expanding its service network, with dedicated facilities being established across key markets and additional dealerships planned for the near future. But riders considering this bike should honestly research local service availability in their specific region before committing, as the infrastructure is still very much a work in progress. Price. This is genuinely where the Kove 800X Pro delivers its biggest shock. Pricing typically starts around $8,500, sometimes even less depending on region and promotions, dramatically undercutting established rivals like the KTM 890 Adventure R or Yamaha Ténéré 700, while offering comparable or even superior suspension, ground clearance, and power-to-weight figures, a genuinely disruptive price position in this segment. Modifications and luggage systems. Kove includes a lightweight aluminum luggage rack with built-in passenger handles as standard, and the aftermarket accessory ecosystem is growing steadily as the brand expands globally, though it currently trails behind the deep, mature accessory catalogs offered by more established manufacturers with decades in the touring accessory business. Brand reputation and rider community. Kove has rapidly built a passionate, curious rider community, largely made up of enthusiasts excited by genuine value and impressed by the brand's unexpected racing credibility, though it is honestly still working to earn the same trust and reputation that decades-old European and Japanese manufacturers have built over generations of riders. Environmental factors, emissions, and sound. On the environmental side, the 800X Pro meets modern emission standards for its target markets, and the twin-cylinder exhaust note delivers a satisfying, textured sound without becoming excessively loud, striking a reasonable balance for riders wanting genuine character without unnecessary noise. Emotional conclusion. So here we are, at the end of this deep dive, and if there is one thing I want you to take away from everything we just covered, it is this. The Kove 800X Pro is proof that genuine engineering passion does not care where a company was founded, it cares about getting the details right, and against all odds, this young Chinese brand has built something that seriously deserves a place in this conversation. It carries real racing credibility, genuinely impressive off-road capability, and a price point that forces the entire industry to sit up and pay attention. But no bike is right for everyone, and every rider values something different: brand heritage, dealer support, raw value. So tell me honestly down in the comments, would you take a chance on the Kove 800X Pro, or does a more established name still hold your trust? And tell me why. Your answer could genuinely help someone else make their decision. If this video gave you real value, hit that like button, subscribe to Bikes Review Lab for more honest, deep dive bike breakdowns, and I will see you in the next one.